Welcome to another episode of Morphy's Games of Chess. We got game 64 coming up in the book. The fifth match game held on March of 1859 between Mongredien and Morphy. All right, Augustus has the white pieces, and he starts it off with e4. All right, no surprise. Morphy answering with e5. Good move. All right, Augustus now with f4, the king's gambit. Morphy jumping at the chance to take that pawn. He takes it off, right? Well, who knows if he jumped at it. If he thought about it for a while, we don't really know. Doesn't have the time in the book here. But he grabs the pawn, and yes, Shredder shows knight to f3. Natural move for the knight. Okay, you gambit the pawn. You're going to try to get the speed. You know, you get the jump on your opponent. You get your pieces out quickly, and you go for the black monarch. All right, this is the whole idea of the king's gambit. Good, you know, very, very rich opening, full of ideas. They still haven't figured it out back even to the modern time, you know, today. All right, it's great opening. You put this one in your bag, all right, you're going to definitely have fun with it once you get through the Morphy Games of Chess course here that I'm providing. All right, all the tactics and all that combinations and great stuff, great attacks. All right, so here we go. Now, normally you'd see, you know, all right, you got this move, but you see, White's going to try to pick up that F pawn, you know, on F4. Let's just say if he does any move. I'm just doing this, right? He's going to usually, yes, bring the bishop to C4, attacking the weak F7 point. That's common, right? And you're also going to launch the D pawn up. Maybe one square, maybe two. You don't want to lock in your bishop. No way. I mean, it makes no sense. You're gambiting the pawn. You want to get that bishop out and attacking, right? And so you know, maybe if you get him out first, maybe D3, but usually you see D4, more aggressive. You're gaining squares in the center, right? And you're going to pick up that, I'm just making silly moves for black. You're going to pick up that pawn, hopefully, if things, you know, if you are allowed to, pick up this pawn with development. See, bishop takes, all right, fine. The other knight coming out, the other knight coming up, maybe leaping up. All right. White's going to definitely castle short. He's going to get his rook on F1, right? You're going to do stuff like this, you know. You're going to get your king castle right away. The whole point, now you got the open F file, folks. You see the open F file. If you could capture this pawn on D4, I mean F4 over here. I can't really touch it. It won't let me because it can't move in this position. So the F4, black's extra F4 pawn there, right? Once he clears that out of the way, he's beaming down where, folks? To this square, right? With his bishop and his rook. Okay, but hey, lots of games have been fought, won and lost. Okay, so the answer's still not out. It's so complicated. Great one. Great gambit. The masters even today sometimes pull this one out as a surprise. All right, so I mean, if we're going to go over a thorough examination of the King's Gambit, we'd be here for 10 years, you know. So anyway, the knight doesn't come out. Right? The knight doesn't come out in this game. Amazingly, you got what's called the Bishop's Gambit. Mongredien playing the bishop to C4. Augustus Mongredien playing the bishop to C4. Can you believe this? All right, now, here we go. Morphy with D5. Hit that bishop already. Put the question to him. What are you doing, tough guy? Right, you're clearing the path for your pieces. You understand? Look, you launched the D pawn. Okay, you're giving back the pawn that white gave you on F4. Right? You got a freebie. Now you're giving it back. Why? Why would you do that? Because when you try to twist and combobulate your position to hold on to that F pawn on F4. This is almost like the fuel to the fire that gives white his massive attack. Because you're twisting and turning yourself just trying to hang on to material. You're falling right into the trap of the gambiteer. You understand? So Morphy says, you know, forget about that. I want my pieces to come out to good squares. I don't want to twist myself just to hang into for a pawn, right? Because if I don't get to the end game with that extra pawn, I'm toast, right? He's going to mate me with a devastating attack, kingside attack. We're not even going to reach the end game. That pawn's irrelevant. Okay, so to play it easy, folks, okay, kiddos, give the pawn back. Don't be greedy in this game. You give it back, and now you're getting your pieces out. The queen bishop, the light square bishop for Morphy now is open to develop. All right? So here you go. D5, right? Now, little footnote here to add. The old masters here say in his published games, Morphy played this defense 4 times, and he played on his third move knight to f6 3 times against the bishop's gambit. So he played this one 4 times, okay, and he played this 3 times. Well, we'll see those other games. We'll get into those. But there is another note. It says here, see note on game 172. So I leap ahead in the book, just curious, just curious to see what it says. And here it says, in quotations, we regard this as a good defense. We're talking about this move. Oh, no, not that one. This one. Okay, D5. We regard this as a good defense to the bishop's gambit. End of quotations. Says Morphy in American Chess Monthly, January of 1858. Later theory declares it the best defense. Okay? Guy's on the cutting edge, folks. What do you expect? He's only the best player of the time. Theory has to catch up, you understand? So, as these games are being, this is known all the time. This has been repeating itself throughout history, folks. The cutting edge players, the Kasparovs, the Kasparovs, right? The Nakamuras. You got the Larsons. What's the most modern kid? The young guy. Let me see. Larson, right? I said Larson. Holy cow! I'm drawing a blank. The champ of the world right now, or he was anyway. I have to look it up again. Carlsen, Magnus Carlsen, of course, the great Magnus, right? The gladiator of chess. I mean, come on. These guys play. They play the lines, and everybody falls off the seat like, hey, is that playable? And then sure enough, they prove it with their amazing talent, right? And then the next thing you know, all the books, all the writers going, oh, yeah, this is great. And they throw it at the engines and the computers. The next thing you know, hey, look at this, a new book's written by so-and-so author, this guy, that guy. And next thing you know, it becomes the line of that's in favor. And then what happens is some other grandmaster down the road shows there is a defect, and he comes up with a devastating counterattack. And now all of a sudden the books are rewritten and everything, and then lo and behold, there is one engine eventually after 10 years of it running going, wait a minute, look, it was devious, there was a way out. So Magnus was right, Kasparov was right, and it flip-flops and seesaws throughout time, and it's ridiculous. It's just totally ridiculous, and who even knows what I'm pointing out here? I don't even know anymore. One thing I just displayed is my memory is not too great. Forgive me, Magnus, one of the greatest chess players who ever played the game. So, all right, anyway, let's get back to it. Where were we? Oh, yeah, this is Morphy. This is Mongredien. Here we go. Did I pronounce the name right? I don't even know. So here we go. D5, baby, D5. Giving back the pawn. All right, so what is Augustus do? Well, he takes it, not, try to showing this, right? He's showing this one, okay? But who knows? That could go other ways. You get a queen check here. I mean, you're giving the pawn back. You got the open E file now. Let's see where it goes with this, right? You go with the check. I mean, obviously, if he blocks with the queen, okay, you'd love it because you're playing the black pieces, right? You both gave up a pawn. It's even. If you get the queens off, the whole game slows down. And basically, there's a good chance that black's going to just have an equal game. Look at it right now. Look, it's evaluation, 0.00, right? Look at this one. They have the knight coming here now, but I like this move. Look, the queen's pinned. She can't take the bishop, and you're forcing him to trade. Unless he blocks. All right, so you block. You block this way, right? Would you just would you give him the bishop pair, take that knight? Oh, no, because then he's going to get the castle. Well, he's going to recapture with the bishop. All right, the bishop moves backwards, right? Not bad. You protect your bishop over there, attack this guy, I guess. Here you go, right? And there it is. I mean, you could do this just for a thought, right? You take this guy. He takes back, right? Now this pawn's blocking, right? So you post him there, and now that guy's blocked for now, right? And there you go. I don't know. It's a quick idea. I'm just looking at it. Now your bishop protects f4. He's got the d5, the d5 pawn. I mean, you know, you're even, Steven, folks, and then you're playing black. So I don't know. This looks good to me. I mean, matter of fact, given white, the bishop here might not be great. You see the evaluation. He's almost up a pawn in a sense with the bishop here, maybe. All right. Well, anyway, so maybe you don't take there. Maybe I'll look at Shredder now. He likes this first. All right, there you go. He plays that. He's getting this guy out. The white's queen bishop's going to come into the game. We attack d5. He protects it, right? Bring the other knight. Maybe swing it here. Maybe swing it there to pile up on d5. You should be able to win that guy, right? Maybe not. Who knows? This is a game, folks. It's a game. I mean, it's pretty much even, right? This is what you want. If you're black, an equal game is a good game. You can't go wrong, right? You can't blame yourself. If you lose, you lose. It's a fight, right? You make a fight of it. All right. So there you go. Now, so I guess the queen check with the open e-file makes sense. Now, look, now he's going to go here, keep the queens on the board. You know, now he doesn't have castling privileges. Feels keep the queens on the board. Now look at the evaluation. It's a little better for black. Doesn't really matter when it's under a pawn. And there you go. He's gonna recapture on f4. You ignore it. You're getting your pieces out. He takes. You castle long. Look at this. We're gonna pile up, I guess. Pile up on d5, but he's pushing it ahead. Attack this guy. You can't take here, folks, trying to get the rook because you take with check. See that? And then you move the rook, right? Then you move the rook. Okay. So you're up. Big league there. Big league. All right. So he'll move there. Okay, look at this one. You go here. You can't double your pawns because you recapture with the other guy, right? The other knight. You could take here, but then you're hitting the queen. Your pieces are getting to good posts. Look at this. Look at this, huh? Block with this guy. You sack him. You win the bishop with check. Look at this, huh? And then you recapture this guy then, finally. And there you go. You're up that way, right? All right, so he can't take the pawn. He comes out. He can't take here, folks. He can't take there. That's no good, right? Here comes the knight tempo on the queen. All right. Queen moves back. And here you go. It's a game. Look at the evaluations. Practically even. Here you go. You take there. You trade it down. You finally get to recapture the guy. Why not with the bishop? There you go. Bishop. Develop your piece. All right. Big deal. Trade them off. Trade them off. Who cares, right? All right, nobody's got the bishop here. Hit that knight. All right, he takes. You recapture. Look at this. I mean, it's going to fall to be in a draw. Big deal. You have the black pieces, right? You got the black pieces. Maybe there's something here for you. I don't know. Maybe you could do it. You know, but you can't. Again, as black, you can't complain if you got an even game. You know, you can't complain. Look at this knight. Beautiful knight. Okay, look at this one. Here's an idea, right? You got the knights. You trade one of the knights for white's knight, and you got the knight versus the bishop endgame. I mean, you got the knight on e4, beautiful outpost. And, you know, if black could trade off the white knight, I mean, yeah, I'm looking at it now. I mean, if he trades it off in this, you know, where the white knight rests on f3, it would bring that pawn, the cheap pawn, to f3, and this would no longer be an outpost, you know, because the pawn on f3 would boot him out of there. But all right, who knows? I don't know. Maybe, you know, usually you want to get the bishop out of there. The bishop is better in the endgame versus the knight. My point being, you got a beautiful outpost on a light square, so the bishop can't do anything about him. So I don't know. Who knows where this goes? Let me just see what the analysis. All right, you take away. Maybe you take this square away so the knight doesn't go after the bishop, or you're just gaining space on the queen side. You double. Look at this. You're doubling the rooks. Now you're threatening knight g3 check. Maybe no. The knight covers. Knight f3 covers. This doesn't do anything right here because he just takes it. Oh, and he's blocking he just blocked the file anyway. But the knight on f3 covers. So white would win that game. Oops. Right. So you double over there. I saw this move. Shredder had done this before, which was weird. He came after. Let's see if he comes after this. You take, right? And you don't want to take here first because then he just recaptures with those knights. Watch those tricky knights, right? They go backwards too, folks. Look. All right. So he'd have to take the knight. Now you hit the bishop first. Why? He's going to take your rook, right? He's going to take the rook first, I would think. Let's see if he puts this. Now you got an isolated pawn, folks. This is what you got to watch in the end games. A pawn like this has no brother pawns on either side to protect him. He's got to be protected by the king or pieces, and then your pieces aren't as active because they're babysitting, right? But I don't know. He moves here. I guess he's. Oh, if he moves off this diagonal, right? We can come right here and attack this pawn. Maybe he's going to lose this pawn. Because, look, he can't even... We can't go here yet because the bishop will take us out. He's covering d8. That's my point. He's staying on this diagonal to cover d8. If he goes there... If we just hit him with g5, he goes here. He's going to... All right, we go after the pawn. Do we win this pawn, folks? Look. Yep, I guess so. Shredder was quick to grab that one. But he's going to come down. He wants to get his rook in the game. Rook to the open file. He's going to come down to f7 and penetrate. For instance, if I do something dumb, all right, he gives the check first. Or does he? Let's see. Maybe not. Yeah, he'd go like this. Look, he could go here, check, right? We have no move, folks, but to block. Then he would come here with his bishop on g3, attacking this pawn. See that? So what we would have to do is block him out. We can't do anything else. Or maybe we could advance the pawn, but then he plays h3, right? And he attacks the knight, which defends. We're going to lose that pawn. See that? We're in trouble now. Knight can't even go anywhere. Look at that. The knight has no squares. Look, folks, he's trapped. He's dead. Dead as a doornail, right? So, okay. So this is the idea that's coming in. You got the rook threatening, this is black's only move. And really, he could just go in, he could say, I had enough, and just declare a draw here by repetition. See that? Threefold repetition. All right. Whether white would want to do that, maybe not. Maybe he feels he's got the win here, but that was a blunderous move. Let's see. Rook there. Black would have to protect against that. So maybe this is getting ready to boot that bishop. He comes down with it. He goes here. He comes in with this. You block. He goes back. All right, he's going to... Now he feels he has to. Isn't that amazing? One little pawn pushing it, and it makes white decide, it's nothing better than a draw. With the pawn, on h6, and I wasted. I just wanted to see what white would do. You burn this one. You just play a useless move over here. Now all of a sudden, white's doing better. He wouldn't want it. He wouldn't want the draw. Look, he would come back and try to play it out. Isn't that funny? All right. So anyway. He goes there. What that would be, I guess, black save and move for now, and just go into the draw. Isn't that something? So white drops a pawn, drops the d pawn, but still gets the draw with what, folks? The active pieces. With his active rook coming down the open file, no move but this, right? And then attacking with his active bishop on this beautiful diagonal. See how, and he gets the draw out of it, even though he's down a pawn. Now, what if instead of this, what if, I guess even if he tries to make a hole or something, it doesn't matter, because if he goes after it, we can do this, and then if he checked again, then we can go here, see? And then he should wait, but now we lose our knight now. Ah, that's the trouble. That's the problem. Still in the position. That's right. So there you go. I would have lost. All right. Focusing on just this one idea over here. You know, that brings up a good point. Is usually in chess, folks, when your position gets so bad that you have two problems, the opponent can build off of those two, and even if you concede again, that's the essence of chess, folks. It comes down to the simple double attack, right? A queen fork. You win in threatening to win two pieces, and you can't protect both, right? You give a double attack of some sort. There's the so-called in the chess, all these books, you see the strategy of playing against the two weaknesses. Black's knight has no squares. That's one problem for black, right? One weakness. The other weakness is the C7 square. The two pieces build up on it. There's no way that black can handle both. This is what either gives white the win or lets him escape down a pawn for a draw, you see? And really, that's what chess comes down to. You can't move twice. You don't have a special move. You can move, only castling you can move the king and rook, but you can't move two pieces at once. You know what it is? You can't handle two problems. That's the essence of this game. The whole thing could be summed up. You got to create two problems for your opponent, and you can't handle both, and there you go. And this is where all the wins come from. All right? You want to simplify this game down. That's what it is. Even strategy. The knight has no squares to go, right? This pawn is weak. Active rook on the f-file. Active bishop on g3, right? I'm making it up as I go, folks, but there's truth to what I say. I didn't even go over these lines, okay? This was just, I'm just winging it here. Very interesting. It's my fault, folks. I yap away, but I can't help but love this game, love these positions that arise, right? You got the isolated e6 pawn. Now, if he goes here, one thing is if he goes here, you pin it, right? You can pin him, and then you just, what do you do to a pin piece, folks? You pile up on him. Pin him, pile up, and win him. See? G5 now. Now, what if he pushes H3? Oh, he can't take. I thought the bishop covered this. See? My eyes. I'm missing it. Can't do it. See? So now look at this. Pawn takes and he's protected. All right. And there he goes. I guess he escapes with not only the extra piece, but the win. Right? So he can't go there. And the problem is, like, if he goes here and you hit this guy, and he goes here and you go after that pawn, it doesn't matter once he gets the rook here. You see that? And then we're down to that again. Unbelievable. Now, an interesting thing I was looking at. If he comes here and the rook protects, and if he goes here, you're just going to hit him away, right? Okay. So if he goes here and he tries to slip to g3, do you see the problem with this move? Look. He goes here, you attack it, right? He tries to boot your knight out of there. I saw this coming, right? So the knight leaps here, which prepares, right? Because if he goes to protect, you give the check. King over, we're going to penetrate, right? Penetrate with the rook. There it is, going after him, right? Ah, but he gets his own active rook in the game. Gets his own active rook. So it becomes a knight. Yeah, because if we take here, he comes down, and then it's just a you know, blow for blow, really. Look, he comes here, and then you go up, and he could take. I'm looking at him taking this, but then you can take maybe he he comes here. All right, so it's just you let the enemy rook come into your position. You don't want it, folks. So there you go. You trade, and now let's see. All right, the black knight wins the H pawn. Okay, with check, come back up. He's getting his king in position, folks. He's getting his king to the center. All right, and there you go. Now it's black. Although he has the knight versus bishop, he's got an extra pawn. So, all things being equal, the bishop's usually better with pawns on both sides. But the knight, black has an extra pawn. So that could be all the difference. And if he could actually put himself on a light square outpost, then he could be that knight could be really strong and beat the bishop. But all right, it's still a game, it's still a fight. Okay, but look at this. Look at what would happen. Look at this. I saw this coming. Watch this. The knight goes there. I mean, the bishop goes here, and if he was to hit the knight first, the knight goes back, right? And now, if he was to try, look, why doesn't he save his pawn, folks? Why doesn't he save his pawn with this, right? Because he can't. The knight leaves to e4, attacking the bishop, and you'd say, well, let him hang on to the pawn. Go here. Did you see this, folks? Knight to g3, winning the exchange, I should say, because he goes here, and he'd win the exchange. Matter of fact, look at this. Wait, rook coming to f8, threatening to win the rook. Look, if he tries to save his rook now, look at what happens, folks. Rook down f1 is mate, right? So he decides to try to swing the king up here, because we're threatening, I guess, to win the rook, not just the exchange like this. He wins the exchange, right? And black penetrates to the 7th rank. We said it before, say it again. Bring your rooks to the open files, penetrate into the enemy position. You're hitting this guy, right? You lose this one. You lose this one, forget it. It's all over. The rook destroys the position, white's position. Now, black, if you go like this, we're threatening to just win. All right, don't let him get anything, I guess. Look, let's see what happens. If we go here, right? He goes there and we take. He takes here. And what does he get? Does he really get anything? We get our knight out. He takes here. We go after the pawn. All right, there you go. He's in no position to protect it. That's no threat. All right, there you go. We win that one, right? We win the rook outright. So he brings the king up. Wait, my fault. Go back. The d pawn, no big deal. Right, on this, I guess he likes the d pawn push better at this point. But if he goes here, we win the rook, and we come down, and there you go, right? We win that guy. All right. Now, so he can't even look, folks, he can't even push the bishop back. He's got to protect the g3 square, which leaves the d pawn hanging. Unbelievable. See how deep that was? I saw the fork occurring if he plays f3. I did see it this far. Which is pretty crazy. Like, if he goes to this side, and then he pushes him, I started to see the knight comes here, and I know that this is going to be played because he wants to protect it. That's what I thought. And then I saw the tempo on him with the knight leaping here, and then this, and he can't protect this and protect g3 at the same time. So he's going to lose one way or the other, right? So there you go. There you have it. It's crazy. This game is unbelievable, right? The little hidden things that occur. All right. At first glance, I thought this was bad for black because he gets in a pawn weakness, the e6, but it never really. It's only a weakness if your opponent could attack it. You understand? And it it just turns out that white's D pawn is weaker than black's E6 pawn. And the reason being is because of the rook on H1. White's rook, folks, he's not in the game. This is the essence of Morphy, right? I know this is just a sideline that didn't occur, but that's the whole trick to Morphy's style. You got to get the jump on your opponent, get your pieces out, get the lead in development, grab the initiative, and, I mean, create problems, right? All right, so we're going all the way back. I don't even remember how this cropped up. What is this even against? What are we even looking at here? What was this? This was all off the cuff, folks. I mean, okay. If he takes with the pawn, is that what this is all about? Yeah. If he takes with the pawn, all right, queen check, and there you go, right? And he decides this time to move the king. All right, no castling privileges for you. And you see how it burned him in the end? The rook on H1, right? You see what I'm talking about? All right. Who would have known, right? All those moves later. Okay, so anyway, look at Augustus. He takes with the bishop, all right? Not great either. Not great either. We're going to talk about why that's not so hot, okay? So, let me see here. So, he brings the knight. Morphy brings the knight out. Develops the piece. Knight F6. Now he's threatening to take the bishop, and then queen takes pawn, winning a pawn back. Not winning the extra pawn back, right? Gambit, king's gambit, black's upper pawn. Morphy gives it back, okay, to help develop his pieces. So now they're even Steven, right? And now he's threatening to take the bishop, pawn takes back, and then queen takes pawn on D5, and you're up a pawn again, right? So what does Shredder decide to do? All right, so he develops the knight. Now you take the bishop. You got the bishop here. All right, knight takes back. Okay, and there you go, right? F4 looks like it's you're up a you're up a pawn, right? No, you're not. You're not up a pawn. My mistake. You're up. It's 7-7, right? So you gotta try to hang on. You don't want to go down a pawn now, I guess. You could throw some monkey wrenches in with a check, maybe, right? And then, okay, he loses the castling privileges. The problem is the knight is going to go to F3. You protect this one, right? And he pushes there. Look at that. He pushes that one. Because if you take, now he pins that bishop. You try to protect it. Look at this. You fall to the fork. Look, just one example of the king's gambit. The tactics fly all over the place. All right, so who knows at this point? He's up +2. Black's got the pieces coming out, though. Tempo on the black queen. See, that knight was coming F3. You go after the knight, so he can't come out. The bishop's no longer pinned, though. He'd have to. Let's see. This is crazy. Just one example of the craziness. If he doesn't take. Oh, he's got en passant right here. He's got en passant. That's why. Because if once the knight's not pinned, this guy's hanging, right? But he's got en passant. All right, he could take there like that and restore the pin on the F3 knight. Okay. So it's a game. It's a fight now. Look at this. It's not so bad. They both lost castling privileges. Black's got the 2 bishops. And he's got 6 pawns to 5. Who knows, right? G3 pawn. He could hold on to that. Oh, we're threatening. Black's threatening knight D4, right? Look at this. Look. Oh, no, he loses the bishop, though. He loses the bishop. He's forking queen, and the knight can't move, because then he loses this one, right? All right. Black would be winning at this point. Matter of fact, look at this. Look at this. All right, he doesn't get mate yet, but come on, folks. That's looking pretty ugly. Pawn's coming up, right? Here comes that G pawn. Oh, look at this. We're gonna hit that rook. What could he do, right? All right, there you go. Threatening mate again. He's got to take. Look at this. You win the knight. You win the knight here. With check first. All right, get him with tempo. Check. Now this guy can't come to c7. He can't come out. All right, well, whatever, right? We're just having fun now. I'm getting lost in this game. Crazy. I tell you, forgive me, folks. The King's Gambit's got just so many. This is definitely the type of game you're going to want to play. And you can see how I'm getting pulled right into these lines. I love the tactics, right? So anyway, okay, this is one crazy way it could go. Okay? The check, the point being the check, you see this a lot. When you got the pawn on f4 for black, the queen check throws a monkey wrench for white because he's got to move the king. He can't. What's he gonna go here? I mean, forget it. Look. That's no good. Blocks with the knight. We could even threaten mate. We could threaten mate on f2. I mean, there's so many ideas. The point is, he can't play the natural move to block, right, and put the question to the queen, because then if he takes here, then you win the rook, right? So you can't, that's how the queen could come to h4. You know, they usually say don't bring your queen out early. In the King's Gambit, it's usually a common move even at this point. On the bishop coming out, it might even be the modern move. You just take away his castling privileges right away. You know, you go from there. But all right, I don't know. You could look that one up. I'm not quite sure. I like Morphy's d5. Okay, he takes there. Knight coming out. Once you take the bishop, black has the bishop here, but notice with the knight on d5, he renews the threat of taking this pawn. All right, so you develop the bishop to hang on to it. He develops castle. You could boot this guy, I guess, boot him out of there for now. Take the pressure off of f4. What if he was to team up with the bishop on c1, right? Because now if you take here, he's got the bishop and the knight on it, right? So you can maybe hang on to it like that. Maybe you get your check in. You just give it up altogether. Just forget about it. You could take the two bishops. You could take the bishop pair maybe. What if you hit him? He takes here. You take. Then he goes back. It's a game, but let's see. You're down a pawn though. You're down a pawn, right? So I don't know, folks. Play c3. You hang on to that guy, I guess. But see what happens. You fall into the trap of trying to hang on to the pawn. Boot the knight out. Okay. Now you advance. All right, here we go. Maybe we'll be the one with the attack on the white king. But white hasn't, in this position, there was no queen check. The white king didn't lose his castling privileges, right? Notice, too, there's no bishop, light square bishop of white to take this guy out and bust up the queenside pawns, right? So he goes there, and he wins this one. You win that one with check. Look at this. Unbelievable, right? These games are crazy. All right, so who knows? Another way it could go. So let's just get right into this game. Now, forgive me. Don't worry though. This game isn't too long, folks. Okay, we'll get down to it now. Here we go. Right. Augustus plays in this move. Not so great. Question mark. He plays d3, figuring, well, after Morphy regains the extra pawn, I'll take this one. Right. So actually, he doesn't even, I mean, looking at it, I guess maybe he saw that then there would be this. All right, you win another pawn, and then when it all settles, let's see, 5 pawns to 6. No light square bishop. You could hop here to protect this guy, and you're up a pawn, right? You're up a pawn, and you got the bishop here. So maybe, after playing after playing d3. And then takes, Morphy takes. Augustus didn't take this pawn. Maybe he thought he can. Instead, he plays the queen check. Queen check to cover g2 from the black queen going in, right? Winning another pawn. All right, now the question to you is, on this queen check, which bishop do you block with? Because you don't want to lose castling privileges. You don't have to, right? So, which one? Well, Shredder likes e6, and that's what Morphy played. You know why, folks? Do you see why? Not this guy. Not this guy. But this one. Okay? There's a reason. Well, the reason's quite simple. If white was to now gain it, see, look at Shredder jumping in already, look. Knight to c3, trying to gain a tempo on the black queen. You got the dark square bishop to pin, right? Now, obviously, if he plays this, you're going to, all right, maybe you move the queen. Maybe you do move it. Look at that. Okay, maybe you move it. Maybe you don't. Look at this. He's going to take, he's going to take the pawn, huh? He wants to keep that dark square bishop on f4, right? So he can recapture. Let's see. He wants to recapture this eventually, right? But he decides development's more important. Get the knight out. Okay, and you make a fight of it. Look at this, right? This isn't what happened, obviously, but that's the whole idea. If you were to block with this one, now when the knight, all right, he likes taking, I guess, but if the knight comes here, now you can't. Your dark square bishop's pinned, so you'd have to move the queen. And I guess he'd go to here to try to protect that pawn, but oh, look at this, he takes it anyway. Look at this. Oh, you see why, folks? Look at this. Do you see why? Look. If black takes, what happens, folks? Whoa, what's going on here? Bring the king to e7 so the knight fork works. The knight fork, folks, and he regains the queen, right? So now it ends up, basically, looks scary, a lot of craziness, but he basically just wins back the pawn. So it's 6 pawns to 6, you know, and there you go, get your knight out, I guess. There you go, right? And it's a game, folks. This is, for black, hey, you know, like I said earlier, it doesn't matter. This is pretty good for black. You're doing good. You know, you got an even game. White had no advantage moving first in this one, right? Okay, so who knows where that goes? Okay, now, well, I went a little too far. All right, here we go. The queen check, block, not with this one, folks. Block with this guy, see? Now if the knight leaps up, you could pin. I mean, you got the option, right? Here you go. Shredder likes it now. There you go. He caught up, right? He knows the deal. All right, and there you go. It's a different, you're bringing your pieces out. Remember, tempos, folks, we're going over more of these games. Tempos are everything. It's everything. Very important to learn, all right? One of the most important things in chess. If you get your men out to good squares, you're going to make a fight of it with your tactics, okay? So anyway, after the check, bishop to e6, blocking, leaving the dark square bishop in reserve, right, to leap out and pin if need be. But here you got, let's see, make sure I do this right. Yeah, here you go. Now the bishop recaptures the f pawn, okay? So now it's even. The pawns are even. He develops the dark square bishop capturing on f4. Now look at this. He's threatening the pawn on c7, right? Now we saw on the other line, well, bring the knight here, develop him, bring him here. He'll protect that for now. But look at Morphy and Shredder. They both see it. Knight to c6. Why knight to c6? Can't he just take the pawn? Well, the old masters knew, and they wrote right here, threatening. If bishop takes on c7. Okay, watch this now. They give knight to d5 and rook to c8 next. Knight to d4. Tempo on the white queen, and then playing the rook over. And the point being, when the rook comes over, if the bishop tries to run out of there, right, with his c7 pawn, You know, he steals the c7 pawn. The thing is now, look at the rook and the knight both bearing down on the c2 pawn. So he wins the pawn back, check, and he also wins the rook outright. And if he can't get out, he at least he remains up the exchange. Look at this. Look, here you go. Look, here's another example. Pin that guy, right? Okay, he comes, he takes here, he takes there. He gives you the check. Isn't this crazy, folks? Again, the King's Gambit, right? All right, you come out of there. And what are you, up a rook? He's got 2 knights, you got 2 bishops. Right? You're up a rook, folks. You're up a rook. Forget it. This game's over here. You're gonna get your knight out of there. All right, big deal. Trade him down. Who cares, right? Then there you go. You're up. You're up a whole rook. Come on. Okay. Now, that's the line. The old masters just gave it up to here, folks. Look, they gave knight up to d4, attacking the white queen. Queen moves, rook over, and they just leave it like that. And they figured, well, anyone could see what's coming next, right? The knight fork. Okay, black's winning at that point. Okay, but when you give it to Shredder, look at this. He wants rook first. Does it matter, folks? You say, well, does it really matter? Because now if he goes here and the bishop runs, it's just a transposition, right? It's just a transposition. Matter of fact, look at this. He's going after your queen. Can you believe it? Oh, you get the check. Okay. He's going to block. He's going to block. First, you do this one, right? Because if you take, you bring the king. You don't recapture this way and allow him to fork, right? The king comes up, all right, and now you can't get to c2. See that? So when the block occurs, you give the check move. Now you trade the queens, right? He's got to take with, again, if he takes even with the knight, you're still getting the rook. If he takes with the king, you're getting the rook. All right, you probably just up the exchange here, but that's enough, right? That's enough. He's controlling c2. You can't get him out, right? He controls b3. You can't get the knight out of there. Knight e2 next. Let's see. So you'll be up the exchange, right? Look at this. You're threatening to take on c4. Isn't this something? Here he comes, right? He's ready to recapture the knight with his rook. But look at this. You're missing this one, folks. Bishop takes c4. The pawn's pinned. He can't take, right? All right, here comes a check. Knight up. Bishop block. I thought the knight might leap, but there's no threat. Bishop covers that one. Okay. There you go. Right. And you're up. You're up. You're at least up the exchange if the knight never sees the light of day. Right? Okay. So, there you go. Now, still, there's other lines, though. There's another way of playing this. If the knight... Okay. If the knight leaps up here, there was this. The knight goes here. You take, he takes, all right? You do end up with the bishop pair, but, he takes, he wants to take there. His knight is hanging, right? So if he takes here, you take there, and you're up a bishop, right? You're up a bishop, so he's trying to go... What is he trying? All right, your knight's not coming out, but you protect him. Look at this. He takes there, big deal. You could take back with the pawn. You got an isolated e pawn, but big deal. You got the extra piece. Okay, he's gonna win it back, I guess. We're threatening to come down to f2, penetrate the enemy position, right? He wants to cover f2. If he's taken back, eventually you do at least, you're up the exchange, though, now. See that? Because he can only take that knight with those rooks at this point. So moving back might be the better move. You stop this guy from coming in, right? All right. Yeah, he doesn't take it yet. He wants to go after your e pawn. Look up. Look at this. Forcing the trade or what? Nope, he takes it now. All right. Double those rooks. You want to trade off that rook, I guess. If you say if he goes here, you would easily want to trade the rooks off and have a rook versus bishop endgame. And he's up a pawn, right? Big deal. You got the rook. So you're up. The rook is considered 2 pawns stronger than the bishop. So you're easily up there. All right, so I don't know. At this point, what would he do? Right? You double those rooks. He would go here. He'd come up to protect that isolated e pawn. There you go. You want to trade. All right, you're forced to trade. All right, there you go. You're up. He does have that extra pawn, but, you know, the rook is stronger. All right, so anyway, here you go, right? Could turn out that way. Still, you know, they left it off, basically, you know, knight here and then rook over, and it's no big deal. But, you know, your opponent can throw some. I always found doing those puzzles, folks, the combination books, right? 101 combinations and et cetera, right? You figure it out, but you still got to win the game after the position, you know? Even though you're up the pawn or 2 pawns or the exchange, you still got to win it, you know? You got to have the technique to win it. That's why it's always better to go over the full game. You see in Morphy how he concludes, how he wins a pawn or he's up the exchange, and then how he follows through, and you see the technique. I mean, at this point, all right, so look, he could attack the bishop. So now if you take here, he takes there, right? Not so easy. All right, look at this. You're protecting your piece and you're threatening a discovery. All right, this guy's hanging now. So he goes here, right? Well, look at this. You play the knight. Not here, folks. Not the check, because look, yes, the queen is under the gun, but she could recapture the knight if the knight takes on c2. So see how you dive into b3? Looks impossible. But your bishop is attacking the queen, right? So, all right, he wants to go here. You take the knight. I mean the rook. You win the rook outright at this point. All right, he wins your bishop. Okay, bishop here, trying to save the knight so he can get out. He's got a beautiful bishop over here though, but we got the check. If he goes here, we got the bishop check coming in, right? Only way what to do is to block. You could castle long. All right, so let's see though. That would be just a stupid mistake if he goes there. Queen over. Ah, the knight comes out. Why let the knight out? Are we gonna? Oh, we're threatening to take give back the exchange, I guess, right? No. Rook over here. This rook here. If he goes here, we're forced there. See, I would have given up the rook for the for that bishop. That bishop's a real thorn. But it's clear that white is up here. The evaluations puts him up, 7. So this is getting crazy. I'm not looking at it long enough. Again, the King's Gambit, folks, the craziness, But my point is this, when the old masters leave it off, there's a lot going on there. It puts black clearly up.
at this point, let's see, where was this? I would have, let's see, if he goes there, I would have just taken this guy and get a pawn for it with check, right? And you're up. It's not as big a lead, I admit. It's just best to simplify, folks. You know, you bring it down. I mean, you got your bishop hanging, though. So he's going to probably play rook to d1, take over the file. All right, so, you know, if you're sitting here and it's a long game, you can sit and look at everything, right? I stumbled into this, and I'm just doing it off the cuff, this particular line. But, you know, the point being is it's not so simple when the you know, the old masters just leave it. Like, after this, knight up, and then rook to c8. Okay? Matter of fact, I think, you know, if he moves here, he likes the bishop. He likes going after the bishop with the queen and then doubling on c2. Because what this does, look, this actually threatens the bishop. Okay, but he's got the c2. See this? There's no tempo on the queen. Now he blocks the knight from coming in because the queen's influence on the open c file is gone. But now you win the bishop. See? But look, he's got c3. See? He's got c3. So you always, you know, it's amazing. You gotta. This is all tactical stuff, and you got to learn to calculate. There's so much more to just simply saying, right? Knight d4 and rook over and you win. There's a lot to it. All right, you're threatening. Okay, if he wants to take your knight, right, you're going to win the rook in the corner. Because now you got the battery, folks. You got the battery. Look at this. You're going to win the rook outright. And you're still on that bishop on c7. He gives a check. If you block, right? If you block. I guess you're still up. You're still up. But he likes to go after that bishop. Look at this. With the king, no less. All right. There you go. You can take him now, and you're up. It's easy street at this point, I guess. But, again, let's see. So it's c3. Look at that. Bishop to d5. Knight comes out. So you can't win the rook in the corner. They trade him off. Now it's a check. Go after the bishop. Look at this. He gets the bishop out of there. You pin him. You pin that guy. Look at this. Oh, he's going to get the check. Look at that. You can't win the bishop because, believe it or not, you're looking to push f6 to win that bishop, right? You're attacking it right now. If he goes here, you push him, you would win it, right? Because even if there's a check here, oh, you could attack, but then all right, let's see, then the guy would move, and then you would win him. All right, so that's no good. But look at this. Instead of the pawn push, the queen is protecting that bishop for now. So you go here. Now you try to win him. Now he goes to check. The king isn't on e1 anymore. But you would attack the queen. The queen gets out of the way with another check. King moves, and he could slip that bishop out of there. Look, he doesn't even want to. He doesn't want to. What am I missing? Hold on, what am I seeing here? You take. He comes down here. You protect. You could block the check, right? You could block the check with your bishop, dark square bishop. Then you're still up. You're up, okay. Why didn't he move his bishop at this point? Oh, he can't. Oh, God. Look, folks, if he saves him, he gets the queen gets pinned. Okay, the queen gets pinned. My mistake. I'm trying to do it fast. I'm nervous. Look at this. I know I've taken a lot of your time on the sidelines in this game. So that's why b4. Okay, that's why b4. So there you go. Again, another, that was a hidden threat. He's trying to worm his way out to save his bishop, but he ends up falling into another another weakness, the pin, the tactical weakness, the pin on c5 with the bishop. Wow. All right, so you do win the bishop. He gets this pawn. All right, there you go. You're up. Let's see. You got 5 pawns to white 6, but you got an extra minor piece, and you got the 2 bishops nonetheless. And he's still trying to catch up in development here. Look at this. All right, here we go. We're gonna pin on b6 threat. All right. Oh, rook coming. Rook attacking the queen. He's got to get to a3, because if he goes, really, that's his only. If he goes here, you get pinned, right? You get pinned. You get double attacked, forked, bishop fork, right? There you go. Right, we're winning easy here. You got this type of game you'd love. You get the open board for the bishops, nice diagonals for the bishops. Look at this. Here you go. You're going after g2. You could win a pawn back here. The only thing is you got. Look at this bishop now is a monster. He can't be blocked. All right. The only thing is you got your king on an open, in the middle, but I think black's winning easy here. Okay. So anyway, all right. How did we get here? Oh, yeah, this line. All right. Not so easy. But anyway, here you go. Augustus doesn't grab that pawn. He doesn't go in for c7. After move 8, right? Knight to c6. He brings, all right, if this, I guess he likes moving there. You could pin him. You could pin him, folks, right? But okay, that's not what Augustus does. He brings the other knight out, and then black castles long. So now the pawn is protected. The c7 pawn isn't hanging. Here comes the other knight. Okay, here comes the pin by Morphy. Develop that guy, pin him, put him to work. All right, he castles. Okay, queen over here. Now look at this. Shredder likes this. Check, right? And, if he moves over, I don't know, let's say if he moves over, right? He likes taking here. He likes taking. Winning a pawn. That's how Shredder would have played it, I guess. But, you got the bishop. Look, he wants to push this and start an attack. Send this down like a bomb, right? Bust up this king position. And then swing the king rook over to the b file, and you got the 2 rooks on the open files. I mean, forget it. Aiming right at the black king. Sometimes winning a pawn isn't really worth it, Can you go in and do this? Maybe. Look, you set up a tactic at this point. Wait a minute. What's white's move after this? Right? Brings the rook over. Queen coming down. Maybe putting pressure on this one, but the knight covers it for now. All right, he's getting off the open file. Here comes the rook. Okay, look at this battery, folks. There's a battery. Right, they're hitting this guy. All right, so anyway, it's a fight. It's, black is up a pawn. If he trades him off, he could win the end game. He looks like his pieces are well poised to counterattack. So, it's a game. That's a Shredder would have went after it. On the check, actually, Shredder's response would be to put the knight there. And let's see, if you take here, can you win another? You win the pawn that way. That's what it is. You win the pawn, but now he hits you there. You pin that guy. Here you go. You're threatening to pile up on the pinned bishop. Why not here, folks? Why not here and attacking a7? Shredder likes this. Does he like it? Let's see if he likes it better. Let's see. Which one does he like better? Now he likes the rook over. Isn't that crazy? We're going to move our bishop. And then he's got to defend the queen. because that bishop is pinned. Once we move this guy, we'll win that dark square bishop if he doesn't protect his queen. So, all right, now he moves here. And you know what, folks? You know what I'm noticing? This might be drawish because the bishops are opposite color. We've talked about that before. But who knows, right? Who knows? So let me show you what Morphy does. That's what Shredder likes. Okay, trading on C3. Okay, that's not what Morphy does. He brings the queen over here. He brings the queen to H5. All right, now the knight, this knight is pinned. Or is he not? Well, we could destroy the knight on C3. Here's the move that Augustus plays. He plays this. He puts the question to this bishop. He should have played knight. Here's what the old masters recommend. He should have played knight to E5, right? Well, we trade over there. He can recapture with this knight. Get a bishop check, you know. So he moves over. We take here. And I don't know. We hit the bishop. He runs. All right, he goes. He wants to stay on this pawn, I guess. There you go. We bring our rook there. We got the bishop here, folks. And who knows, right? It's worth a little. But less than a pawn advantage. Anybody's game. Okay, so that's what the old masters recommend. Knight to E5. Okay? Schroeder likes, he liked at one point knight to E4, bringing the knight over here. That's how I remember going over it with him. But I don't know. So, anybody's game, really, right? Queen, now Schroeder likes queen here. We bring the rook to the open E-file. A dark square battery. Setting up the dark square battery, attacking A7, putting pressure on it. We got the knight defending for now. So I don't know, it's a fight, right? There was plenty of game left. But watch this now, plenty of game left. But here we go. After castles, Morphy with queen to H5, over to the king side. Here we go. A3, right? All right. He doesn't take. Shredder likes taking. Look, he checks. Okay, he checks. All right. Maybe this is better. You know, maybe he's better like that. But here's what. Again, plenty of game left. No real advantage for either side, right? But here's what Augustus does. He plays this, right? Okay, so now you got bishop to G4, pinning this guy, right? All right, queen. Shredder likes the same move. Queen here. Okay, king rook over. He wants to get him off that open file anyway, right? Because here comes the rook. Morphy with rook. King rook to E8, taking the E file. Here comes the queen rook to challenge the file, right? Well, now bishop takes. Bishop takes knight. And you got rook takes bishop. But now you got rook takes, rook check. Queen's got to take back. And now the knight leaps into D4 with a tempo on the rook. No big deal. Don't worry. Don't panic. Look at the evaluation. Okay? It's anybody's game. No real blunders yet. Okay? Shredder likes this. Maybe that was the move. Maybe that was playable. Okay? Going after the queen. We go after the dark square bishop. We got the dark square bishop and C2 hanging. Oh, look at this. Queen to C1, protecting him and protecting him. Now, can we take? Can we just take here maybe? And then, you know, if he takes here, we win him. I don't know. I mean, he's got this, right? We move. It's still a game. Still a game. Looks like Black's doing pretty good. He's up slightly. Still anybody's game, though. It's a fight, right? Queens are still on the board. So maybe rook here. Maybe rook here is good. Yeah, here's a move, right? Protecting the bishop, attacking the queen, tempo on the queen, so you can't do any of this. Queen's hanging. Oh, it's not hanging. If he takes, right, if we go here, for instance, if he takes, the knight could take, right? So the queen's not hanging. If you move the knight here and take the pawn, now he's hanging, right? And it's with check. Oh, boy. So anyway, so then the queen would move. If you take, knight recaptures. Now you can't take over here because your bishop's hanging. You just brought the white knight to a beautiful square. Look at this. So you don't take, you don't trade. And remember that rook on h3, he's hitting this h7 pawn. So I don't know, right? It's still the game, folks. That's the point. Rook to h3 is still makes it a fight, okay? Knight up, no big sweat, right? Maybe rook g3, maybe rook h3, tempo on the queen. Maybe rook to g2. I don't know. Right? You're attacking, look, you're attacking the bishop, but you're also unleashing the dark square bishop, but he could go back now. Big deal, right? You can't take here because he's got it covered by that rook. All right, so it's still a game, right? What does Augustus do? My point is the rook could still move and it's a fight. But the rook moved to f1. Question mark. There's been a couple by Augustus. Look at this, though, now. Knight takes. He wins the c-pawn. Okay, he simply wins. Here you go. He attacks the knight. Now he's trying to open the semi-open c-file. Now it's white who's trying to play the tactical tricks, right? Because if you notice, the queen and the bishop aim down at c7 down here. All right, there's some pieces in the way for now. But here we go. Knight back to d4 by Morphy. Pawn up. Pawn up. Look at this guy. White might have regained the pawn with bishop takes pawn, according to the annotators. All right, king takes, right? Black's best line seems to be king takes, knight to here, knight to e4. This guy's pinned. The bishop is pinned, right? And he's attacked twice. He's only defended by the queen over here. Okay, so the knight slips back to lend support to that pinned bishop. Now he just has to play king to b8, get out of the pin, and then the bishop's free to get out of there. But look, so white's got to move. He's got to hit that pinned piece with a pawn while he can. Black threatens king to b8. Okay? For instance, let's just do a dumb move, right? Easiest to just show it. Look, you just move the king. Just move the king here. He takes. Knight takes, I guess. Queen takes. They trade. You're up a knight. Okay, he comes in. Look at this. Yeah, rook up, supported by the knight. There you go. You want to trade? Really? What else does he have, though, folks? He can't hit the protect. You can't dislodge the knight because we just take, right? He could take our rook, but we could take his, right? And if he does trade, big deal. We take back. We got the knight. We won, right? So that's the whole point. That's what's going on. So no h3. We're just showing. Black threatens king to b8 if nothing's done about that bishop. So he has to hit it with the pawn. But then they say after rook takes here, rook takes on d3, we win another pawn. And how is white to make the position level now? Question mark. Well, he goes here. We take. Right? My voice is cracking. And there you go, right? Okay, here you go. We do this. He comes in with the check. We block. If he takes, you could penetrate to the 7th, but you block with your rook. Very calm, and you always got to look for that. The rook on the defensive, when you get your rook to the 7th, it's best to be able to bring your rook back to defend, because now he can't take your pawns, right? And he'd have to get out of there. Matter of fact, he's got a back rank threat right now. You're threatening rook down, mate, right? So, okay. So he's not going to take. Here you go, right? And it's, you're up. Here you go. Rook down now to protect your 7th. Okay, there you go. Comes over here. He attacks. Big deal. You win this one. He takes, look at this. He takes here, you take there. He takes this guy, right? And he's going to, well, can he check you to death? I don't even know. If you try to protect your, he's going to go there. He's going to check you to death, I guess. He's got the back rank mate. So he can't take here or it's over, right, folks? Whoops, mouse slip. It's over. Rook down is mate, right? So, okay, let's go back here. Let's go back. So on the check, if you do come up, it goes here. You're just getting out of the checks. Look at this. Look at this, folks. You're getting out of those checks. All right. What do? Still can't check you. Goes after your pawn. The queen and pawn endgames are tough. When the king doesn't have shelter, it's all a matter of just being checked to death, you know. And it's very hard to make any headway. So this might be a draw. Might be a draw. Tough. You got to try to force a trade somehow. But, you know. He's going to take your G7 pawn. If you want to protect it, maybe. Look at this. You're protecting H7. So the game is you try to take away the checks of the enemy queen. And with your queen, always try to protect these pawns. Look at this. Look at this guy. The black queen, right? There's no checks. He can't take this one, the black queen on B1. So now he swings up, right? And he's trying to, you know, could threaten checks with the black queen, but we got the move. Now, if you tried this and if he goes to this diagonal, this is what you're looking for, right? He goes there, you quickly trade him off. You pin the queen, force the trade, and there you go. You won this end game. That's what you're trying to do. Now that's not forced, because on this check, he slips there, and you don't have it, right? So anyway, he likes my move now. I guess he likes my move now. But all right, it's a fight. It's crazy. Maybe White could hang it. Those hang in there. That's the idea, right? So, I mean, heck, you know, this is all stemming from after knight back, right? Pawn up, rook takes. And how is White to make the position level now? Well, maybe he can't, but he can add complications with a queen and pawn endgame, right? He could make complications here. See how it developed? All right, maybe rook back is better. King back, rook protecting G2. You don't want to, here we go. Now we're threatening a back rank mate. We got the check. When he takes here, we go down. There you go. Look at this. See, with this position, the way it shapes up with you don't lose the B7 pawn. So your king could maybe find shelter eventually, and you could win it like this. It's amazing. One pawn less means a lot, because in terms of king safety. So look at this. You take advantage of the white pawn blocking the queens in. You don't want to take. You don't want to take here, because now he gets the action that he needs, right? But right now, this threatens a mate, right? He goes back. Now you take. Queens are off the board, and now it's still tough. It's still tough. You know, you're up a pawn, rook and pawn endgames. You know. All right, folks. Now, I was looking at something. Shredder had this move for a few minutes or seconds, I should say, and I was wondering, wait, he's got a back rank weakness. So if you take advantage of that, you might get a win out of this. I mean, if he goes to defend like this, for instance, you push the pawn, right? And he can't take here because you win the rook. So, you know, If he gives the check, you block. Now if he goes back to move and try to you take, he can't come up and take it because, like I said, back rank weakness, folks. Rook comes down and delivers mate, so he can't even take back. So what he'd have to do after the block, he'd have to trade. And now if he tries to pass, he goes in first, queening, right? But it's not a check, and here you go, right? Back rank mate. Okay, so that doesn't work. So white at this point he'd have to trade. And then, and then at this point, I think black could win this now. You keep pawns side by side, so they take away these squares. The white king can't come up, right? The king slides on. The king slides this way. Little mouse slip there. There we go, right? He wants to go there. You come up. So you can't really do anything. All right, we move up like this. There you go, right? Yeah, we trade him off. Now, if he comes up this way, we just pass. Now we got to pass, protect the pass H pawn. No way he could win this. All right, we come around just to check. Let's see how this works. We come up here. He goes there. Here we go, right? What could he do? He wants to go here first, and we go in. And he comes up, big deal. We march up this way. And we capture this guy, and it's all over, right? It's all over. Look at the evaluation. Mate in 153 moves, right? Just like I said, simple win, right? Mate in 153 moves. Holy smokes, are you kidding me here? All right, so anyway, you got the 2 pawns. That's an easy one, right? You go here, right? What's he going to do? What's he going to do, right? You come over. You trade him off. He can't push up. That's what he wants to do. I mean, but whatever happens, we got the initiative, right? We got the opposition, I should say. I mean, whatever. Like, we go here, right? Now we grab it. He goes up. All right, we push. Is he going to try to slip in the back? All right, very good. There we go. He goes there. He takes. Oh, I see. That's why you go here. Look. You attack the pawn. If he wants to defend, well, then you go in this way, I guess, right? And then when he takes there, you take here, right? And there's no way. Now our king is already in front, and there's nothing he can do. He can't catch this pawn, right? Look. There you go. Go back. Get out of here. Right? There you go. Make him go back, right? Boom. Mate. All right. So anyway, you can win it this way, but just to show you, because at first Shredder wanted to just push the A pawn for white, and that loses. Right here, folks, right here. Look, let's see. Black, let's see. Right there. That would be a loss. But simply moving the king over takes away the back rank threats. So black really doesn't have enough now. Let's look at this. Look, see. However you want to do it. I don't know. He goes here. So now, you just monkey around. I mean, white could hold. White could hold this. If they trade the queen side pawns, then it's basically a theoretical draw. The rook could hold, even though there's only, he's down 1 pawn. White could hold it with the rook still on the board. All right. So anyway, so really, this whole thing, rook takes, and they leave it. They leave it here. This is where the old masters leave it, right? They say, and how is white to make the position level now? Well, he doesn't material-wise, he doesn't make it level, but he has enough to hold the draw, to complicate issues, right? And you could get the draw either way. Okay, so anyway, we're going back, and let's see what actually transpired in the game, right? Because now at this move right here, bishop takes. That's what they had recommended. The annotators had recommended bishop takes c7. And like they said, they came to the conclusion, but how is white to make the position level? All right, well, anyway, Augustus plays this move. All right, bishop goes back. They trade off the bishops. Rook captures back. Here comes the queen. Queen threatening to check and then win the f-pawn, for instance, right? He comes down, checks, no other move but to block, and then combining with the rook on f1, there you go. He wins the f-pawn, right? Even if they take, they trade, right? Okay, no big deal. So, I guess he went, I guess white, I mean, you know, what's going to happen is he's going after this pawn and he's unleashing the rook on the d3 pawn, but he's dropping these while we speak, right? So, I mean, it just basically, everything deteriorates. They just both collect pawns, and it's a draw, folks. It's a draw. There's nothing here now. So there's no, trust me, there's no a6 by Morphy. I'm just showing you. Now, what Morphy does do is he blocks the F file. He blocks the rook's influence on the pawn down here. So he's attacking the queen too, but it's really the block, okay? Not to mention the queen, I don't know, let's say it goes, I don't know, anywhere, right? Look at this. It goes here, right? You got the fork threat. The fork went in the exchange, right? First he's going to have to trade queen. He's going to have to take. Matter of fact, look at that. Look at that. He can't take this yet because the pawn is hitting this rook. So he captures, and luckily he's hitting the c3 knight, which I didn't even see. All right, so it still works. And now what happens, folks? Well, it kind of turns into a rook and pawn endgame. I don't know. This could be tough too. You know, he's up 2 pawns though. So maybe this will work. Maybe this could work. All right, so anyway, that looks like it might be good. Up 2 pawns might be a little bit tough. So after the knight goes to f5, maybe this was best anyway, but now you pin the knight. All right, you just protect it that way. You're threatening mate on c7. Knight comes back blocking. He takes that guy. You take. He comes down. You block. So look at this. He wins it anyway, right? He wins it anyway. So maybe this was the way to go. Maybe we're doing it quick right now, but I want to show you what actually happens in the game, right? Enough of the sidelines. Here it goes. He wants to trade queens. He plays queen to f3, right? So they trade. Rook takes back. Now watch this, folks. Rook over to c6, right? Okay. Yeah, he could take here, and then he takes there. King over, and here we go again. All right, protect your f7 before grabbing. Right, you're going to either get the a pawn or the d pawn. So, okay, he goes there. Oh, he's going for this one, right? So now, all right, he saves that one. You go after him, you know. This would be a mistake, trying to use the rook for protection, because I guess he could get away with that for now anyway, right? It looks like this could be coming, but then he gobbles the a pawn. So anyway, all right. So it looks like black's up though. They're giving him over 2.5 advantage. So might be able to pull this one out. So Augustus doesn't take the knight. They don't trade knights like this. What he does is a flat-out blunder, folks. Look at this move. I'm going to turn the engine off, see if you can find it, okay? He plays the knight back. Now, at first glance, you think, oh, what, it's going to lead to mate. But no, the knight covers the c1 square. And it could actually go back to block. But, I mean, you know, you take the rook, right? Put it in the box. But Morphy plays a very interesting move. Not too hard to see, but get a load of this. Knight to D4. A fork of rook and knight. Right? Not often you see a knight fork another knight. But there you go, right? Because if he takes now, well, now it does lead to mate. That back rank weakness, folks. Back rank weakness. Right? So he can't take the knight. If he goes back, he simply drops the piece, right? Okay. If he goes back with the knight, you take the rook, you win the exchange, right? Here you go. Blocks, okay, and you eat up the a pawn, and the others soon follow. You got that easy game, easy end game for black, and there it is, with knight to d4. It's amazing because they put a lot of question marks to Mongredion's moves in this game, but he was still in it. He was still hanging on. It wasn't so cut and dry as we demonstrated. He was there. He still had this game. You know, he still could hold. But, I mean, it turns out he made a flat-out blunder right here when he played the knight back to e2. I guess he didn't see this occurring. And look at that move, right? And Augustus just ends up resigning right there. There's nothing more. All right, so that exclamation point by Morphy on that move. Exclamation point, knight to d4 and wins. Okay, so there you have it. Game 64 in the books. All right, we're going to hit game 65 next. All right, we'll see where that one goes. But thanks again for joining, and we'll catch you on the next game.